Watch me as a navigate. Hello everyone, Ryan here, and it is finally time to talk about this Gorillaz album. It is finally here. Gorillaz are back. Gorillaz, the famous virtual band, have one of the strongest discographies in music to me. I think that their 3 studio-length albums prior to this have all been near perfect. They're always some of the best albums of the year. They've accumulated a massive fan base. Their forward-thinking and fresh, futuristic sound still sounds incredible more than a decade on. And over the years, they've managed to create some smash hits that have appealed to the mainstream without ever really dumbing down their sound or compromising anything. They've always sounded alternative and brilliant, and I can see why Gorillaz have become so popular at this point. However, I do have to come straight out and say that Humanz is the worst Gorillaz album to date, without a doubt. Now, that doesn't mean to say that this is a terrible album, because I don't think it is, but just, at best, it really is only mediocre. The most obvious thing that'll scream out to anyone that listens to this album is that there is just no flow to it at all. Like, you cannot hear this album and think it flows well, because there just isn't any kind of flow. Now, I know that there is a massive amount of features on this album, and I'll get to those in a minute, but I just mean, in general, with the sound, there isn't anything that holds it all together. And with the features, I can commend Gorillaz for including such a vast amount of great artists and underground quality artists as well, all in one place. It's just that the problem is that the features are also the Achilles heel to this album, because the artists aren't complemented very well on the Gorillaz beats, and they're not sounding their best, and they could have been used to their better strength. Take the track Charger, for example, which not only has this ugly sounding instrumental, but it also features none other than Grace Jones, who is quite a legend in the music world, but she just sounds really out of place. Also, there's the track Andromeda, where we have Dram on the song, and you can barely hear him. Like, you should use Dram to his full strengths. You should have a sunshiny, boppy beat and him singing over it like he would on his own songs, and he would sound great. And, to be fair, this track did kind of grow on me as a glitzy instrumental, but it's just a waste of a feature, to be honest. Carnival with Anthony Hamilton, another great vocalist that should be used well, but here he sounds pretty terrible on this beat that just doesn't fit his style at all. It's a song that doesn't go well at all. And even De La Soul, who have worked with Gorillaz plenty of times by now, somehow sound out of place on this song. Moments with its ridiculously bouncy beat. It kind of sounds fun, but at the same time it's just a dumb, complete mess. There's the moments refrain, which sounds so stupid, and it's just crazy how De La Soul don't even sound very good on this song, and you would expect that these two would know how to make a great song, considering they've done it before. With all the bad features out of the way, I should probably get onto some of the positive features, because there are quite a few here. There is Ascension, which I think is still the best song on the album, with Vince Staples. That is a song that complements Vince Staples' style very well. You could easily fit this onto his last album because of the beat. It actually sounds like Vince Staples would hit hard on this kind of beat on his own song. He would pummel down with his verses just like he does here. Submission is another highlight, with Kelela singing on this song. She sounds really nice. And of course we have Danny Brown, who at this point on the album I was kind of hoping he would be a bit of a saving grace, but he kind of ends up just putting out one of his usual sounding verses, and his flow towards the end actually reminds me of Today, which was on his last album, Atrocity Exhibition. This is a pretty good song. And surprisingly, Strobelite is another favourite of mine. It features a man called Peven Everett, who I've never heard of before, but I should probably check out more of his music. His vocals somehow remind me of Stevie Wonder, of all people, so that's only a massive positive towards him. And, I really like the beat. It goes like bum, 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 ba da 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 da. It's really good. I love the soulful sound of this song. It's definitely one of my favourites here. But it's a huge shame to me that these are the biggest positives I can take away. I mean, there are tracks like Satin Bars, which have popcorn in it, and you know, I don't think that plays to his best strengths. I think it's a pretty bland song, and you know, it's another song that I'm surprised they released prior to the album, because I just don't see how Gorillaz fans would get excited by something like this. Then there's a few tracks towards the end which do nothing for me at all, and I just forget every time I listen to them, like Sex Murder Party. You know, it's just ridiculous and just so over the top. And there's even these random interludes which feature throughout this album, and they are random as hell. I'm pretty sure they're there just to be so random and XD face, you know? They just have no purpose on this album, and it's frustrating that every time they come on, I'm just sat wondering, why are they even here? One interesting theme, however, that crops up on this album is this sort of political narrative that appears on a few tracks, like Let Me Out with Pusha T, who puts in a great verse as always, and Mavis staples. Now on the studio version there are these kind of horns that cut out the parts where Pusha T would mention Obama and Trump, and this song is kind of talking about how like people in America can now survive and look forward in a future where Trump is in charge. And there's also Hallelujah Money, which came out before this album, which received a massive amount of backlash on the YouTube comment section, of course, because that's where all the backlash features these days. And that again was talking about Donald Trump and mentions the wall that he's going to build, and you know, it was released the day before his inauguration. And it's kind of interesting how these themes pop up, but they're not really part of any bigger narrative, because they're just sort of there because for the sake of talking about politics, because we need to talk about politics. Why else shouldn't we, you know? It's just something we've got to do. And back to Hallelujah Money, it's got this kind of low, like, monotone beat to it that makes it sound like the end is nigh and everything is going wrong with the world. But then it follows onto the final closing track. If you're not counting the deluxe edition, then We Got the Power featuring Jenny Beth is the closing track. And oh my god, that is the corniest song on the whole album, and perhaps the corniest song Gorillaz have ever done. But you know, it's just kind of like the contrast between how slow Hallelujah Money was and then the triumphant end of We've Got the Power to change things and make things happen. It's, you know, it's a bit of an interesting kind of end to the album, and it does make me wonder if there is something I've sort of missed with this whole theme. But you know, even if that was the case, there isn't any kind of clear theme here. It's just on a few tracks that it's noticeable and it stands out. But again, it isn't done particularly very well, so I can't really compliment Gorillaz on this. So yeah, you know, unfortunately this isn't a very good Gorillaz album. Perhaps their worst. If you're counting The Fall, then maybe that is their worst, but I don't think any Gorillaz fans want to ever remember The Fall. So I'm not going to count it. I'm just counting it out of the 4 albums that they've done, and yeah, this is not very good. It's pretty average, middle of the road. Again, no flow to the album, no consistency. Unfortunately, the Gorillaz have let me down here, and I think they're going to let down quite a big amount of their fan base with this. So if you like this review, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think of this Gorillaz album. Have a good day.